Welcome to our continuing series, Questions and Answers for a World in Crisis. Today, Part 2 of Divine Love, the Mother. Where is the manifestation of divine love intended to stop? Is it to be confined to some unreal or immaterial region? Divine love plunges its manifestation upon earth down into the most material matter. The divine love of which I speak is a love that manifests here upon this physical earth in matter, but it must be pure of its human distortions if it is to incarnate. The vital is an indispensable agent in this, as in all manifestation. The moment man's consciousness awakens to the divine love, pure, independent of all manifestation in human forms, he knows for what his heart has all the time been truly longing. That is the beginning of the soul's aspiration. That brings the awakening of the consciousness and its yearning for union with divine. All the forms that are of the ignorance, all the deformations it has imposed must, from that moment, fade and disappear, and give place to one single movement of the creation, answering to the divine love by its love for the divine. Once the creation is conscious, awakened, open to love for the divine love pours itself without limit back into the creation. The circle of the movement turns back upon itself and the ends meet. There is the joining of the extremes. Supreme Spirit and manifesting matter, and their divine union becomes constant and complete. Great beings have taken birth in this world, who came to bring down here something of the sovereign purity and power of divine love. The divine love has thrown itself into a personal form in them, that its realization upon earth may be at once more easy and more perfect. Divine love, when manifested in a personal being, is easier to realize. It is more difficult when it is unmanifested or impersonal in its movement. A human being awakened by this personal touch, with this personal intensity, to the consciousness of the divine love, will find his work and change made more easy. The union for which he seeks becomes more natural and close. And the union, the realization, will become for him too more full, more perfect. For the wide uniformity of a universal and impersonal love will be lit up and vivified with the color and beauty of all possible relations with the divine. Perhaps the different elements constituting the stone are coordinated by the spark of love. I am sure that when the divine love descended into matter, this matter was quite unconscious. It had absolutely no form. It may even be said that forms in general are the result of the effort of love to bring consciousness into matter. If one of you, parentheses, I have my doubts, but still, end parentheses, went down into the inconscient, what is called the pure inconscient, you would realize what it is. A stone will seem to you a marvelously conscious object in comparison. You speak disdainfully of a stone because you have just a wee bit more consciousness than it has. But the difference between the consciousness of the stone and the total inconscient is perhaps greater than that between the stone and you. And the coming out of the inconscient is due exclusively to the sacrifice of the divine, to this descent of divine love into the inconscient. Consequently, when I said, perhaps in the stone, I could have removed the perhaps. I can assert that even in the stone it is there. There would be nothing, neither stone nor metal, nor any organization of atoms without this presence of divine love. Divine love, if not clothed with a psychic or vital vibration, is difficult for a human being to perceive. One can have an impression of grace, of a grace which is something so far, so high, so pure, so impersonal that, yes, one can have the feeling of grace. But it is with difficulty that one feels love. Question to the mother. So, divine love need not be sought and known apart from the psychic being? No. Find your psychic being and you will understand what divine love is. Do not try to come into direct contact with divine love, because this will yet again be a vital desire pushing you. You will perhaps not be aware of it, but it will be a vital desire. You must make an effort to come into touch with your psychic being, to become aware and free in the consciousness of your psychic being. And then, quite naturally, spontaneously, you will know what divine love is. A supreme divine love is a creative power, and even though it can exist in itself, silent, and unchangeable, yet rejoices in external form and expression, and is not condemned to be a speechless and bodiless Godhead. It has even been said that creation itself was an act of love, or at least the building up of a field in which divine love could devise its symbols and fulfill itself in act of mutuality and self-giving, and if not the initial nature of creation, this may well be its ultimate object and motive. It does not so appear now, because even if a divine love is there in the world, upholding all this evolution of creatures, yet the stuff of life and its action is made up of an egoistic formation, a division, a struggle of life and consciousness to exist and survive in an apparently indifferent, inclement, or even hostile world of inanimate and inconscient matter. In the confusion and obscurity of this struggle, all are thrown against each other, with a will in each to assert its own existence first and foremost, and only secondarily to assert itself in others, and very partially for others. For even man's altruism remains essentially egoistic, and must be so till the soul finds the secret of the divine oneness. It is the divine love which so emerges that, extended in inward feeling to the divine in man and all creatures, in an active, universal equality, will be more potent for the perfectibility of life and a more real instrument than the ineffective mental idea of brotherhood can ever be. It is this poured out into acts that could alone create a harmony in the world and a true unity between all its creatures. All else strives in vain towards that end, so long as divine love has not disclosed itself as the heart of the delivered manifestation in terrestrial nature. Question to the Mother. Are divine love and grace the same thing? Mother. Essentially, all things are the same. In its essence, everything is the same. It is a phenomenon of consciousness. But love can exist without grace, and grace can exist without love. But for the human consciousness, all manifestation of grace is a manifestation of the supreme love, inevitably. Only it goes beyond human consciousness. Long, long ago, in the arid land which is now Arabia, a divine being incarnated upon earth in order to awaken there the supreme love. As one might expect, he was persecuted by men, misunderstood, suspected, hunted after, mortally wounded by his assailants. He wished to die quietly in solitude so that his work might be accomplished. And being pursued, he fled. Suddenly, on the broad, barren plain, a little pomegranate bush appeared. The Savior crept in under the low branches in order to leave his body in peace. And immediately the bush expanded miraculously, grew wider, became thick and luxuriant, so that when the pursuers passed by, they did not even suspect that the one whom they were chasing was hidden there. And they went their way, while drop by drop the sacred blood fell, fertilizing the soil. The bush was covered with marvelous flowers, scarlet, large, crowded with petals, innumerable drops of blood. These are the flowers that for us express and contain the divine love.